Okay, so part of what I gave you guys for homework last time we met was I asked you to come to class prepared with a working thesis for your persuasive research essay. So far, you guys have kind of done some prep work. You've let me know your topic. We've, talked about a couple of things. I know a couple of you needed to change your topic, which was fine because we're in the beginning process. So I had asked if you would please come with your with some type of a working thesis. So I'm going to ask you guys a question, and I want you to use the chat box. I want you to private message me. Okay, I want one from everybody. I want you to private message me and let me know whether you have like a working thesis or not. So please private message me in the chat box. Let me know if you have a thesis statement or not for class today, okay? And remember, working thesis, okay? We are not looking for perfect, okay? Okay, let me just kind of look where we're at here, guys. Okay, so here is what we're going to do. I'm going to go over some information with you guys. And then I am going to put you into breakout groups to discuss the thesis statements that you have. Now, I know that a couple of you, sorry, there's like one hair. I know that a couple of you do not have a thesis statement, but you do have a topic, okay? So what I want you to do is when I do put you in those breakout groups, the couple of you that do not have a thesis statement, I want you to share with your groups what your topic is, okay? And because everybody should be able to utilize these breakout groups in one form or another. So if you don't have a thesis statement, share your topic with your group. Ask your group to help you kind of brainstorm for maybe three subtopics, three subpoints that you could discuss with your topic, okay? And we'll touch on that more before I put you guys into breakout groups. But as I said, I want to show you guys a couple of things. Okay. So I'm actually going to take us into Blackboard, but I have a couple of documents that are a little helpful when we're trying to strengthen a thesis statement, okay? And we want our thesis statement to be clear and as strong as possible when we start, because then that helps us down the road when we're writing. It gives us that direction that we need. Okay, so let me pop this over here. Both of these documents are actually from other colleges who have been gracious enough to share, okay? So yay for them. We love sharing. So this first document that I'm just going to skim over, we're not doing like heavy reading or anything this morning, deals with bad and better thesis statements, okay? Because I noticed in the chat box, some of you were like, well, I have one, but it's not that great, or it needs some work. That's great. That's what we want to do this morning, okay? So let me kind of go through some of this a little bit. So what we are looking for, we would love the best thesis, but we're looking for a better thesis, okay? So that's our focus. We may have a good thesis. Let's make it better. And this document goes over like 5 major problems that we commonly see, what we run into when we see thesis statements, okay? So the first one is called a non-thesis thesis. Okay, so let me explain that. A thesis statement is like your stance. This is what I believe. This is my opinion on whatever it is you're writing about, okay? It's different. It's not a topic sentence. So remember, we've got a thesis statement and a topic sentence. Thesis statement is basically telling you what your entire paper is about. a topic sentence usually is telling you what a paragraph is about. Okay. So, a topic sentence is just kind of general, whereas a thesis statement is very, it's specific. There's no neutral tones in it, whatever, because this is your opinion. Okay. It's announcing your argument. It's announcing your stance. So it's announcing the point that you want to prove. So your thesis statement has to be clear and strong and opinionated. So they give some examples here of a couple of bad thesis statements and some better thesis statements. So let's look at those, okay? So the first one says, in this article, Stanley Fish shows that we don't really have the right to free speech. This is kind of what we call a so what thesis statement. Big deal. Okay, whatever. Why should I care? Now look at the better thesis statement. Okay. Stanley Fish's argument that free speech exists more as a political prize than as a legal reality ignores the fact that even as a political prize, it still serves the social end of creating a general cultural atmosphere of tolerance that may ultimately promote free speech in our nation just as effectively as any binding law. Okay, so a lot more specific. Definitely get a stance. So use the chat box and either privately or to everyone, let me know, do you think the writer of this paper, how do I want to word this? I'm trying to put it like in a yes or no question. Do you think the writer of this paper believes in free speech? That like really, really simplified it. Take to the chat box and let me know what you think. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I would say yes. I would say that the writer of this paper is trying to really show how important, how strong free speech is. So if we go back and we look at their original thesis statement, we don't get that. We just get, hey, they must have read an article, and Stanley Fish shows that we don't really have the right to free speech, but it doesn't tell us what our author thinks. So let's look at the second bad thesis. This paper will consider the advantages and disadvantages of certain restrictions on free speech. Okay, it's kind of another, I don't know, like wah-wah, okay? We want something that, this is like a neutral statement. We don't really know what our author's opinion is. Okay, so let's look at a better thesis. So even though there may be considerable advantages to restricting hate speech, the possibility of chilling open dialogue on crucial racial issues is too great and too high a price to pay. So the original one was just saying we were going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages. Now, take to the chat box. Tell me, does this author of the Better Thesis 2 think that we should restrict hate speech? Tell me what you think their opinion is. Do they think that we should restrict hate speech? And again, you can always do it privately if you're too shy to talk to everyone just yet. Does this author think that we should have some restrictions on any type of hate speech? Okay, good job. So no, I mean, this author is like, that last part of the sentence is telling us, you know, that possibility of kind of like tamping down on open dialogue, especially when we're talking about like racial issues, it's just a bad thing, because even though we disagree with the hate speech, it opens a window for us to actually look at racial issues and discuss racial issues, okay? Now, we would not have gotten that from the bad thesis statement, okay? That's a non-thesis thesis statement. It's very broad, very, very neutral. Okay. Now, the overly broad thesis, you know, I think if you've taken English Comp 1, that's been touched on before, where it's just like, it's so broad. It needs to be specific. It needs to show some type of organization. Okay. You know, the statement says, so we're talking about an overly broad thesis. It is not possible, for instance, to write about the history of English literature in a 5-page paper. I mean, there are huge books, okay? We would have to whittle it down. So in addition to choosing simply a smaller topic, strategies to narrow a thesis include specifying a method or a perspective, or delineating certain limits, okay? So we're just going to look at one here. There should be no restrictions on the First Amendment. Okay, now this one actually does let us know what the author's opinion is, but it's super broad, okay? There's no way you're going to be able to limit yourself to a 5-page paper talking about the First Amendment, okay? We got to make it just a little bit more specific, kind of rein it in a little bit. So look at their better thesis, okay? There should be no restrictions on the First Amendment if those restrictions are intended merely to protect individuals from unspecified or otherwise unquantifiable or unverifiable emotional distress. Okay, so we've brought it in specifically to certain kinds of restrictions. That will help us a little bit. Okay. All right, the third one is an uncontestable thesis. You need to write a thesis statement that could be argued, okay? Something that's arguable. And in order for something to be arguable, it must present a view that someone might actually disagree with, okay? So sometimes a thesis just kind of ultimately says we should be good or bad things are bad. Well, that's kind of a duh, right? So we need to make it arguable. So let's look at bad thesis 2. There are always alternatives to using racist speech. Okay. I think that most people would agree with that. So it's not really arguable. So let's look at their better thesis. The quote unquote fighting words exception to free speech is not legitimate because it wrongly considers speech as an action. Okay, so now we've honed in on the fighting words exception, and that gives us a place to argue from and to really dive into. Okay? All right, 2 more. Oops. The list essay thesis. All right, so not only does a good thesis give your stance on an issue, lets your reader know what your position is, but it also gives that structure of the paper. Okay. Remember how more than once I've talked about you guys needing to think of like 3 subtopics that you want to discuss in your paper. This is why. Okay. The thesis should allow the reader to imagine and anticipate the flow of the paper. So by putting in a sequence of points that you want to cover, it actually helps your reader. All right. A list essay doesn't give that kind of structure. It kind of is messy. All right. So let's look at a couple of things. Let's look at, well, we'll stick with speech because that's what we've been using. There are many reasons we need to limit hate speech. Okay. That's another like super boring, simplistic thesis statement. It's not going to help us out at all. And it's kind of a so what. So let's look at the better version of it. Among the reasons we need to limit hate speech, the most compelling ones all refer to our history of discrimination and prejudice, and it is ultimately for the purpose of trying to repair our troubled, radical society that we need hate speech legislation. So it's not just talking about, hey, we got lots of reasons. It's saying among those reasons, okay, we have the ones referring to our history of discrimination and prejudice and the purpose of trying to repair, right? Repair our troubles, racial society. So that gives us kind of a springboard and tells our reader what the order is. All right. Let's look at this last one. The research paper thesis. If you're just doing like an informative paper, a research paper thesis is good, but your paper is going to be an argumentative. It's a persuasive paper, so we need something that can be argued, right? We need specific. We need a claim. We need your opinion. Okay, so let's look at some of these. I'm looking at which one I want to show you. We'll just go with bad thesis number 2. Hate speech can cause emotional pain and suffering in victims just as intense as physical battery. Okay, so it's not terrible, but maybe we need just a little bit more. So let's look at the better thesis. The various arguments against the regulation of hate speech depend on the unspoken and unexamined assumption that emotional pain is either trivial. It feels like there's another word there. So what we're doing is we are offering a statement here that can be argued. Because we have some people who are saying, it's really not that important. But then we have other people who are saying, yes, it is important. So we have taken a stance and stated our position, okay? Now, I'm not going to give you a test, but I did want to show you these questions. So when you are looking at your thesis statement or somebody else's thesis statement, keep these in the back of your mind. First of all, is it a complete sentence? Not a question. You can never have a question as a thesis statement, okay? 2, does it have an opposing argument? So when you're talking about whatever topic it is you're talking about, is there another side that's arguing against you? Because that's what we need. Look at this. This is fun. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the second 2 is every word clear and unambiguous in meaning. Okay, take to the chat box. Do you guys know what ambiguous means? Give me a definition for ambiguous. Feel free to Google it if you're not sure what it is. What does ambiguous mean? Okay, I got one definition. I want to see if I can get one more person, 1 or 2 more of you to type something in. Oh, that's a good one too. Okay, so we have a couple of them. If you're still typing, please keep typing and enter it, okay? So one simple definition could be unclear. Another one is open to more than one interpretation, having a double meaning. Okay, so when we're talking about our thesis statement, the wording that we need to use needs to be super clear so that our reader knows exactly where we stand. You cannot be ambiguous. You can't be wishy-washy, okay? 3, is the sentence a dead end? Ooh, wait, I just saw this one. Capable of being understood in 2 or more possible senses. Exactly. No wishy-washy. Don't be ambiguous, okay? All right, so 3, is the sentence a dead end or does it call for additional information and explanation? We don't want a dead end. We want to know that your paper is going to go somewhere. 4, does the statement make such a large claim that you believe the writer has no hope of proving it to be true in the space of 4 to 6 pages? Okay, this is where we want to make sure we don't have too broad of a statement. And what evidence, this is mainly for yourselves, but what evidence will you need to see before you will believe that the thesis is true? Okay, so kind of keep those in mind as you're looking at your own thesis statements and as you are helping your classmates out, okay? All right, let me switch around here a little bit. Okay, so give me a second. I think one of your classmates is having some tech issues. Hang on. Okay, and I think... Okay, give me just a moment, guys. Okay, so here is what I want to do. If you guys haven't fallen asleep yet by having to listen to all that, I'm going to put you guys in, let me see, about 3 groups, I think. Maybe 4 groups. Smaller would probably be easier for this. What I want you to do is I want you to have your sentences, your thesis statements available to share. Now, as I said before, I know a couple of you don't have a thesis statement just yet, and that's okay. I want you to utilize this time to share your topic and ask your classmates for, 2 or 3 things that could be subtopics to talk about. So if I don't have my thesis statement and my topic is vaccinations, some subtopics could be, potential side effects, unsubstantiated claims for or against vaccines, the benefits of vaccines, all of, those are all different subtopics. So share your topic with your group and ask them what they would maybe like to hear about that topic. Okay? Does that make sense? If you do have your thesis statement, I want you to, whether you turn on your mic and you read it, to your group, or if you type it in the chat box, I want you to share that with your group and ask them for feedback. Like, what can I do to make my thesis statement stronger? Okay? Does anybody have any questions before I plunk you into groups? Okay, so it looks like there will be 2 groups of 3 and 2 groups of 2. Okay, so I didn't want to make the groups too big because I wanted everybody to be able to discuss and get some feedback. Okay, so remember, if you don't have a thesis statement, don't panic. Share your topic. If you do have a thesis statement, share your thesis statement and get some feedback from each other. So utilize the chat box, utilize your mics, whatever your group wants to use. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm just going to give you, pardon me, 15 minutes to do a thesis exchange to try to see if you can get some help. All right. So after that 15 minutes, I'm going to bring you back into the group, and then we are going to talk about the thesis statements and maybe help each other build them just a little bit more. Okay. As always, when you're in your groups, raise your hands or raise your hand button, whatever that one is, and let me know that you need me, and I'll pop into your group. Okay. So I'll see you in 15 minutes. All right, so here is what I want you guys to do. I'm hoping everybody had time. Like I said, that's why I put you kind of in smaller groups so you would all get that chance to talk about your topic or your thesis statement. So what I want you guys to do is take the feedback that you got from your classmates throughout the coming week. I want you to see if there's any changes that you want to make to your thesis statement. And then when we come to class next Friday, I want you to have your thesis statement again. We're going to do one more kind of final exchange, one more thing with it. So make sure that you have a thesis statement with you, either your polished one or a still working one, because we're going to need those for next Friday. Okay. All right. Now that the group presentations are all done, we are really going to start writing. You guys have already started on your annotated bibliographies, and we're going to talk more about those later on in class. But coming up, you guys are going to be working on some critical analysis. And so I want to make sure that you guys remember your MLA and APA formatting, okay? So just quick quiz time. Use the chat box, okay? There are some similarities between APA and MLA. So what is the spacing of my document? What should the spacing of my document be? Single space, double space, 1.5 space. Okay, double spaced. What size font should it be? Okay. Now, this is a trickier one, and feel free to go Google or do whatever you need to. In MLA, what needs to be by your name? What's all the information that needs to be by your name? Do you remember all that? There's a few things you have to have in there. Okay, name. Way to go, Nick. Okay. Right. Okay. So I'm looking at it as you guys are typing them here. Okay, good job. Oh shoot, I thought I had it opened up. Hang on a second. I thought I had it opened up. And of course I did not. Okay. All right, so let me show this to you. Wait, mine goes in. I know, and this is where it gets confusing. So if you're somebody who does APA, APA is different than MLA. So let me look through all of your answers and then I'm going to show you something. So, yep, we've got name. Oh, I see what you mean. So page number. Okay. Name, my name, the class, the date, all that good stuff. And yes, you are correct, Lexi. The page number goes in the header. So does the page number go on the left or the right in the header? Do you guys remember? Very good. To the right. Okay, still focused on MLA. In an MLA paper, we have a sources page at the very, very end. What do we title that page? What should be the title of that page that holds all of our sources? Yes, works cited. Okay. So really quickly, let me show you. For NWTC, we use a lot of the OWL Purdue sources because it's a great website. This is it's a sample paper from their website, and this is an MLA formatted paper. Okay, so take a look at this. This is our little name block here. Okay, so you'd have, oh, what is going on here? Okay, before I move on, I'm just seeing kind of like a blip up on my screen. So everybody who can hear me and see me, can you take to the chat box and just say hi? Okay. I'm I I was just probably being It is it laggy? Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, give me a second here. I want to figure out what's going on. Because it says, okay. Yeah, this is really weird. Sorry, I'm making sure this is all. Okay. Hopefully we're okay. I don't know why it did that. All right. So in any case, if it starts to get weird or anything, please let me know in the chat box. I don't want to lose you guys. If the worst should happen and for some reason the class like disconnects or whatever, go right back into Blackboard, go to the virtual link and come back in, okay? All right, so MLA formatted paper right here on our screen for us, okay? So we have our name block. We've got your name, my name, which obviously isn't Patricia Sullivan, the class name, so English Comp 2, and then the date. Now, I always get the question, do I put like the date that it's due? Is it supposed to be the date that I write? As a good rule of thumb, I say put the due date because it's another way like to remind you of when you have to get that in. Okay, so but as long as it has a date written in that format, please pay attention to that format. Okay, day, month, year. No commas needed. Day, month, year. I believe I could be wrong, but I believe some of my military students have said that's actually how they write that, write the date in the military. So if I have any of you who are military, feel free to confirm or deny that. But I believe they say that's how they set it up in the military. And then I think Lexi had reminded us that we have to have our page number. And we do. We have a page number in the header on the right-hand side. Please make sure to include your last name with the page number, okay? Again, this is MLA, it's not APA, all right? And I'm going to go to the very, very bottom. Here we go. And then there's our works cited page, okay? Can anybody tell me this special spacing right here? There's a special word or special term, not a word, special term for the way that this is tabbed. Do you guys remember what that's called? That may be like a tricky way to say it. There's a special term for this type of indent. Oh yeah, yep. Ella has it. Thank you. I know that was like a really awkwardly worded question. It's a hanging indent. So please make sure on your works cited page that you have that fancy hanging indent. And as we are getting further on in writing, if you're having an issue with your formatting, let me know and we'll go through that, okay? Okay, so that's just your MLA reminder, okay? Yes, we will be going over how to cite images. I don't know if we're going to get to that today, but I'm going to write myself a note really quick just in case. Because I do plan to go over how to cite different things that aren't just, articles and books and stuff like that, okay? Writing myself a note, so if we don't get to it today, we'd be able to get to it later. Okay, so, let me... So before I attempt to do any type of APA crash course, can you guys take to the chat box and let me know if there are any of you who plan to use APA formatting? Can you take to the chat box and let me know, either for everyone or private? Okay, so no, oh, All right. Darn it, I got my hopes up there. Okay. See that you bring up a very, very good point. You guys, what I would love for you to do is to check with your program. I don't know if you have like a, gosh, what do we call them in college? Like a student services person, a program coordinator that you could double check with. So, like social work, I believe you're correct. I believe they do require an APA. Nursing students, I don't know if I have any of you who are nursing students. I think that as you go further on in your program, I think they require APA as well. So if you're unsure, try to check with somebody in your program. If you can't get that answer, then I would honestly say just go with MLA. Okay. So let's go through just a couple things with ML or APA. Okay. So we touched on MLA. Let's touch on APA just a little bit. So APA, and even if you're not writing an APA, if you know these things, please use the chat box. In APA, we use a title page, right? It's not just how with MLA where we just kind of plunk everything on that first page. APA, we have a title page. Does anybody have any idea what needs to be listed on the title page of an APA paper? Give it a shot, even if you're not sure. What do you think is needed on a title page of APA document? Name. Very good. Title of the paper. Yep. Date. And then very similar to MLA, excuse me, very similar to MLA, not the assignment title, but the class and then the professor. Okay. For APA, I think I have to double check this because I don't know if you guys know this, I think it was October of last year, APA did some updates, and so we now use APA 7. For an APA paper, you still have to have a page number, and it's still at the right-hand side, but it is actually a little bit different than the way we format the MLA page numbers. Do you know what's different? Take a stab at it. How are the APA page numbers formatted differently than the MLA paper? It used to. The title used to be that we used to have a running head. So now with APA, it's with APA 7, so the brand new formatting, it actually is just the page number. And to me, it looks really, really weird because that's not ever how it was done, but now it is just the page number. Yeah, like I said, that's very weird for me. Okay, so one last thing with APA, that sources page that's at the very, very end, what do we title that? In MLA, it's a works cited page, but in APA, it's called something else. Nobody know what it is? Oh, so close. Nope, not bibliography. Even though it's kind of classified as a bibliography page, it does have a different title. Oh, somebody else guessed sources, not sources. I'm trying to load this up for you guys. Okay. All right, let me share this with you. Okay, in APA, that sources page is actually titled references. So MLA, works cited, APA, references. You will notice the similarity in that you still have to have your hanging indent, okay? Let me go up to the top so you can see. Ooh. So you can see a title page. Okay. So we've got like our title. That is one of the things that is difference between MLA and APA. And MLA, you would not bold it. Okay. It would not be bolded at all. If you have a title on an MLA paper, you just type it out. So this paper was actually written by 2 students. Okay. They put the school. Okay. So it's your name, the school's name, the class name, the teacher's name, and then the date. And notice the date is written pretty much how we're used to writing it here in APA. Okay. Now, I don't want anybody to panic. Okay. Let me show you. You guys have access to all of these resources and more. I'm taking us to the school's website. Sorry if you like get an extreme close-up of my face. I have to lean forward to type. All right, so if you go to the school's website and you click on current students, because these are all resources for you guys, library, and you scroll down and you'll notice there's this whole research section, okay? So there's program guides, citing sources, how to research, all of that. If you click on citing sources, it's going to load up a page that has everything about the APA, the 7th edition, which is the newest edition, and MLA, and I believe it's MLA 8 is the newest edition. So you like have, look at all these. Ooh. And I thought there was one on here. Maybe there's not. YouTube video, da, 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 da. Of course, they don't have the images one on here, so I will I will find that resource for you. But it does kind of show you what to do with a YouTube video, you know, all of these different things, a blog post. You can even cite a tweet. Did you know that? You can use a tweet if it applies to a research paper somehow. So the NWTC library page is a wealth of information. It is amazing, okay? That was just a crash course just to remind you that you need to be formatting your documents either in MLA or APA. And if you are unsure, go check with your program. If your program says whatever, I usually say MLA just because it tends to be a little less complicated. That's just my opinion. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm just looking at some time here. Give me a second. I'm trying to figure out what is going on here. My computer is being just a touch wonky this morning. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just getting like some weird things on my computer, so I apologize. I just wanted to check on that. Okay. I'm gonna throw my pen around. So kind of keep those things in mind. Remember, try to keep those basic formatting things in mind as you guys are typing, because we are going to be we're really kind of jumping into our writing now. Let me take us into Blackboard, all right? Okay, let's go into Learning Plan 5. That's where I want us to go. So if you're somebody who likes to click along, that's what we're going to do. All right, Learning Plan 5. I want us to go into the folder that Analyze Persuasive Texts. Okay, so feel free to go ahead and click on that. Now, a big part of what you guys need to be able to do is to really know how to critically analyze sources. And you do that when you are working on annotated bibliographies. You're obviously doing that when you're trying to find sources for your research essay. Okay. So here's what I want to do. I want to show you this video. Here's how we'll play it out. We're going to watch this video. This video is 7 minutes long, but I'm going to pause about halfway through. In the first section of the video, it mentions 6 things to look for when you are critically analyzing a source. I want you to take note of those 6 things, like literally write them down. Okay, please write down the 6 things that this video covers. It will help you with the upcoming assignments. Okay, so as always, I'll play the first couple of seconds to make sure that we have a good connection and that everybody can hear, and then we'll go from there, okay?
Language is powerful, and as English teachers, we want you to understand how arguments, language, and persuasive devices can be used to influence.
Okay, use the chat box. Sound okay? Video okay? Okay. If you're somebody who likes accents, you'll love this because this guy is from Australia. If you're somebody who has a hard time with accents, I'm going to put on the closed captioning and hopefully the message gets across, okay? All right, I'm going to put this in full screen and we will go from there. Get rid of that dumb thing. Okay.
For this reason, we occasionally ask you to write what is known as an argument analysis essay. We provide you with some kind of persuasive text. It could be an editorial, a letter to the editor, a speech, or a cartoon. We want you to deconstruct this text, explain how the writer makes arguments, uses language, persuasive devices, and even visuals like photographs and cartoons to persuade an audience. Before you get started, you need to read the text carefully and annotate it, identifying the issue, contention, tone, audience, arguments, language, and persuasive devices used throughout the piece. When you're done, the page is probably going to look a little bit like this. Let's talk about some of these things and how you can identify them. An issue is simply an important topic or problem that sparks debate or discussion. Using the word should can often help identify an issue. Here are some examples. If euthanasia should be legalised, whether Australians should celebrate Halloween, if soft drugs should be decriminalised. Developing a clear understanding of the issues that the writer is exploring is your first step towards analysing the argument that they're making. Contention refers simply to a writer's point of view. What do they believe? What do they think should happen?
Okay, and so apparently I can't count. There are 7, and just to help you out, issue is the first one, and contention is the second. So yeah, I should really number these things so I can count. So issue is the first, contention is the second. So there are 7 things that you need to just take note of, all right?
Do they think that soft drugs should be decriminalised, or that Halloween is a magical time of year, or that horse racing is barbaric and should be banned? Beginning a sentence with the word that forces you to focus on the writer's contention. Here are some examples. That reality television is a waste of time. That teens should have access to private medical appointments. That fox baiting should be prohibited. Identifying the arguments that a writer makes is a bit more challenging. Be on the lookout for the main points or ideas the writer presents. When identifying arguments, the word that is very useful once again, helping you to state a position or point of view. Here are some examples. The writer argues that Halloween brings communities together. He suggests that fox baiting is cruel. The writer contends that the time we spend watching reality TV is better spent pursuing our dreams. Sometimes imagining where you'd put subheadings in a piece of writing can help you identify these main points. Remember that an argument is a point that supports the writer's overall contention. Tone is a word that refers to the way a text sounds. The tone of a piece of writing or speech can be very persuasive. If you can, try to read the piece aloud. What does it sound like? How might tone help to persuade an audience? While I can give you a list of commonly used tone words, the best way to develop your understanding of tone is to read widely and think about the varied ways it can contribute to an argument. Keep in mind that in a single piece of writing, the tone may shift several times. Try to capture the subtleties of these tonal shifts in your writing. Another important consideration is who the article's been written for. Identify the intended audience so you can start to unpack some of the language choices the writer has made and explain their intended effect. Remember that not everyone responds to a piece of writing in the same way. What is it about the language and persuasive devices that might influence this particular audience? When you're annotating a text, also look out for particular words or phrases the writer has used. Out of all of these possible alternatives, what effect might this particular word have on an intended audience? As you're reading, start to identify persuasive techniques. You've probably learned a lot about these language devices in class and know that each of them can persuade in different ways. In addition to identifying these techniques, consider how they are intended to influence a particular audience. What is it about this use of alliteration or this appeal to sympathy that might be persuasive to them? Before you start writing, it's a good idea to make a brief.
Okay. Planning isn't one of the 7, just FYI. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. But I want to do one thing, and then I'm going to let you go on a break. And then we will talk about this a little bit more. So let me, oh, for Pete's sake. Okay. Yeah, I did cut out. I'm sorry. I don't understand what is going on here. We're going to do one thing and then we're going to go on a break, and I'm going to see if I can figure out why this is happening today. So, all right. So I had asked you guys to try to identify 7, yes, 7, not the original 6 because I can't count, 7 things that really can help us critically analyze a source. So it could be a text, it could be a video, it could be an image. And if you recall correctly, I told you that issue was number 1 and that contention was number 2. Take to the chat box and tell me what number 3 was. Nope, that's number 4. There was one more. There we go. Okay, so argument. Whoops, I can spell. That doesn't look right. And then somebody gave me number 4 already, is tone. You guys can't see it on the whiteboard just yet, but it'll get there. Number 5, what was number 5? Audience, very good. And number 6, language, very good. And who has number 7? Did you catch what number 7 was? Very good. Persuade. I'm trying to talk and spell correctly at the same time. Doesn't work very well. Okay. I feel like that's spelled wrong, but oh well. All right. So those are the 7 things that I really, as you're working on some future assignments, as you are working on even your annotated bibliographies, I want you to think of these 7 things as you are looking through those sources and really trying to analyze them. You guys remember your annotated bibliographies have 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is a summary, right? It's a summary. There's no opinion. We're just literally summarizing what the author wrote. But then you have to write that evaluation or analysis paragraph. And looking for these 7 things would really, really help you in that annotated bibliography even. Because if you remember, for an annotated bibliography, that evaluation paragraph, you should not be giving your opinion of the topic. You should be looking at, the author's writing, the tone, the devices they use, the language they use, who is the audience. That's what's supposed to be in that evaluation paragraph. In that video, it gave a huge list of persuasive devices. The logical fallacies that we've been going through, those are persuasive devices. So look for some of those as you guys are reading and finding different sources, okay? So take a Post-it note, whatever. Make sure you have these written down somewhere to help you as you critically analyze sources, Okay. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go on a break. We're going to take like a 12-minute break. I'm going to putz with some settings here to try to figure out what is going on. If something terrible happens, like I said, and we get disconnected, make sure you just go back to that virtual link and it'll bring you right back into class, okay? So let me put a timer on our screen. I just got to move a few things around. And we will take that 12-minute break and we will continue in talking about critically analyzing, okay? So 12 minutes, see you in just a bit. Please take note of these 7 things. Put them in your notebook, put them on a Post-it note, whatever. But please make note of these. I think you will find they will help you out later on. Okay, I'm going to take us into Blackboard. So those of you who like to click and follow along, and actually all of you need to. So if you don't have a Blackboard window open, I'm going to need you to do it for an activity that I have for you guys. Okay, so let's head into Blackboard. All right, so remember we are in Learning Plan 5 and we are in the Analyze Persuasive Text folder. So Learning Plan 5, Analyze Persuasive Text. Okay, that's where I need you guys to be for the next little bit. So this was the video that we watched a part of it. We will come back to it later on, maybe today if we have time. But what I want you to do is, you'll notice about halfway down, I have these 3 activities. It says in-class activity, and they're all highlighted. If anybody does not see those, take to the chat box and let me know, okay? Because for what we are doing next, I need you guys to be able to have access to these, okay? I'm going to put you into 3 groups, and each group will have a separate activity, okay? So this will be group 1, okay? Group 1 will end up taking this video. Now I think the video itself is like over 2 hours long. I don't want you to watch the whole video. You will notice that I specifically say start at the 29-minute mark and watch until the 35-minute mark, okay? So group 1, when we go into breakout groups, I don't think it's set up where you guys can share your screens. So you need to get into your groups and say, okay, everybody go watch that clip really quickly. Okay, so it's a 6-minute clip that you guys need to watch. Then once everybody has come back, once you're done watching it, you need to come back to the group and say, okay, I'm done. All right. So once you guys watch that 6-minute clip, this is what I need you to do in your group. Okay. Need to have a scribe. I don't really care if you write full sentences or whatever. But I need you guys to do kind of a reflection on what you just watched and kind of think of those 7 things as you're watching it, okay? I want you to consider the elements of persuasion used by both sides. Tell me what, tell me what Trump did that was effective or ineffective. Tell me what Biden did that was effective or ineffective, okay? So that's really all I want you guys to do. I want you to watch that video and share your opinions on what was done effectively, what was not effective, okay? So that'll be group 1, and I'll let you know the groups in just a minute. Group 2, you don't have to find the editorial. I actually have an editorial for you right here. You'll end up clicking that and it'll take you to a different window. So that you guys can kind of open up and just skim through. You don't necessarily have to do like a hard read through, just kind of skim through it. What I want you to do is, as a group, skim through here and think about, like, is there any kind of persuasion that is being used? As a group, what do you think the author's purpose was? Do you think the author used any specific like rhetorical strategies? Okay. And I want you to look at it and as a group decide whether you thought there was bias in the article. Okay. And again, scribe, write something out because as groups, you're going to be sharing what your group thoughts were. Okay. Group 3, you are going to go and critically analyze a website. Okay, so this will take you to the PETA website. As a group, what I want you guys to do is consider elements of persuasion used by PETA. So go click on some tabs, maybe look at some article titles, whatever, but specifically analyze what types of appeals are used. Okay. Are they effective? Okay. So like, do they appeal to emotion? Do they appeal to, why did I just forget the word? Do they appeal to like expertise, things like that. And then let us know as a group whether you think they were effective. Tell us why. And let us know how you think persuasion is sometimes different when it's done electronically. Okay. So group 1 will be the video, group 2 is the newspaper, group 3 is the website. Let me tell you what your groups are. Oops, here we go. Oh, that didn't work. Hang on. Why won't it do it? Okay. So here's how the groups are. Hold on, sometimes I have to do some weird clicking to make things work. All right, so group 1 who will be watching the 6-minute video and scribing something together. Group 1 is Angela, Beatrice, Lexi, and Nick. Okay, so remember, get a scribe, somebody just kind of write down your thoughts, and you will be sharing them in the chat box when we come out of the breakout session. Group 2, you guys are the ones that are looking at the newspaper article. Group 2 is Bailey, Ella, and Justin. Group 3 is Alexia, Alexis, and Jasmine. You guys are taking the PETA website. Okay, so again, look at whatever type of thing it is that you are critically analyzing. Use the prompts kind of here at the bottom to let you know what you should be looking for. And even if you get stumped, reflect back on those 7 things that we wrote down from the video. Write something up. You're going to be sharing your thoughts with us in the chat box once we get back from our breakout sessions. Okay, so before I put you in breakout sessions, do you have any questions? Okay, and I'm thinking, look at time here. I'm going to give you guys 15 minutes, okay? So like even my friends who have to watch the video, you need 6 minutes to watch the video and then just kind of discuss after that. So 15 minutes, not looking for full sentences, just a general discussion of your group and write down your thoughts regarding the questions and the things that you're supposed to identify, okay? If you have any problems with the links, raise your hand. I'll come into your group and we can talk about it, but I did test them all, so they all should work. All right, so I will see you guys in 15 minutes and we will talk about some critical analysis of these 3 types of medium, okay? And I'm going to take us back into Blackboard while you guys are putting those in the chat box. Okay, I think, just want to make sure, I think we had everybody. All right, so I'm just going to kind of take it in the order that we had. So group one had to look at a clip from the political debate, and this was from just last year, all right? So their section, if I recall correctly, because I did watch some of it, it was talking about health care. All of a sudden, I'm trying to remember how that worked. No, they were talking about the Supreme Court of Justice, the Supreme Court Justice, and then it kind of just trickled away from there. So let's just kind of look at the comments here. Oh my gosh, I just blanked on the justice. I just blanked on her last name. Does anybody remember what her last name was? I just completely blanked on her name. I'm terrible. Put it in the chat box if you remember. Okay, so this all, it started with debating whether the Republicans should be able to vote in the new Supreme Court justice after Ruth Bader Ginsburg had passed. That's where it started, okay? So I'm looking at the comments. So Trump used her education at Notre Dame as part of her credibility. Okay, so Trump took a stance and said this is her credibility. That's why she'd be in there. Biden had mentioned how she had written about how the act was unconstitutional before she was elected into Senate. Okay, so he went back and looked at previous things. Biden talked about the amount of people who would be effective if affordable health insurance was taken away. The argument wasn't very effective at the end since it was starting to become an open discussion. Okay, those are good points. And I had some of the same ones too. I thought it was very interesting how they were discussing putting in the new Supreme Court justice and how like there wasn't, I mean, I guess personally, I didn't feel like there was a segue into the healthcare, affordable healthcare. I felt like maybe Biden possibly jumped the gun a little bit with that. Like maybe he could have led into it. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying very good attention, but that's just kind of what I felt. It was kind of a roundabout way, I guess, of maybe not discrediting her, but maybe saying why it wasn't the wisest choice just to pop somebody in there right away. Okay. All right. So good job. You guys did a critical analysis of, we'll call them our authors, Trump and Biden, and some of the appeals or some of the logics they tried to use. Okay. And then I like that you put that the argument wasn't very effective because at the end it did, like, I think the moderator literally said now we're in like open discussion. Okay. Group two, you guys had the article from the Green Bay Press Gazette. So I'm scrolling around in the comments to make sure that I get the right group here. Oh, that's PETA's. Okay. All right. So this article was about lawmakers passing bills banning COVID vaccine mandates. Okay. So we have a mask mandate. There have been certain groups that have wanted to pass a vaccine mandate. Okay. So that's what that article is about. So it looks like group two broke it down. They said the elements of persuasion that were used, there was logos, personal matters, so nurses, region, health, purpose, it was informative, there was a neutral tone, empower rights, show both sides politically. Okay, but they did notice So this is very important. So they read through the article and they noticed that both sides were addressed, okay? Which is what you're supposed to do in your papers, in your persuasive papers. You are supposed to address both sides of the argument. However, as a group, they did notice that there was a slight bias towards, were you trying to say Republicans? Okay, just checking. I didn't want to assume. So, a slight bias toward like the Republican Party or the Republican stance, okay? In your papers, you're going to do something very similar. You're going to address both sides, but your paper will have a slight bias because it's a persuasive paper. You want people to see why your opinion or your argument is the stronger one, okay? All right, so good job. And then group 3 had to critically analyze the PETA websites. Let me scroll up so I can get to here. Okay, so the bullet points they came up with were persuasion is different electronically because you can reach a larger amount of people. You can also include more imagery and videos to appeal to emotion. That's super important because I don't know about you guys. I'm very affected by visuals, okay? Whether it's videos or pictures or whatever, they catch you, they get me. PETA uses mostly appeal to emotion. We also see a bit of the bandwagon fallacy through celebrities and slippery slope with the outcomes suggested. Okay, excellent. Good job, you guys. PETA's website does not include any other opposing viewpoints. All right, they strictly stick to their own. All right, you guys did amazing. Like this is perfect. You guys did a great job. Feel free to pat yourselves on the back here a little bit. All right, so wanted to give you a little bit of like your first try at diving in and critically analyzing, because we're going to go over some things that you're going to be needing to work on over the next couple of weeks. Okay, let's go into this critical analysis tool. So thinking of what you just did for that group activity and thinking of the 7 things that we pulled out of the video that we watched, let's look at this assignment. So critical analysis tool. This is something you guys are going to be working on this coming week. It's going to be due by class time. So this is due at 8:30 next Friday. And you're going to need to have it submitted because we're going to do a little bit of a peer review with this analysis tool, okay? So for this assignment, you guys are going to create a visual that will allow you to list the criteria you will be using to evaluate the source, okay, a source. Examples from the source, and your judgments as to the success or failure of the source, okay, for this critical one analysis. The tools or criteria you should use are listed in the critical analysis 1 assignment and include, these are what you need to be looking for, okay? Ethos, pathos, logos, induction, deduction, fallacies, we got a whole list of them. Reason, evidence, credibility, bias. However, you do not need to use all of them. My suggestion is to make yourself like a table, okay? And what you are going to do, let me see, where did the syllabus go? Sorry, I was looking to see if I thought I had the syllabus attached here. I do not. Okay. Push pause on that for just a moment. Okay. That's the rubric. Yep. Okay. Sorry. Thought I had it attached. No, still not. Okay. So I'm going to click back and forth between two assignments because they are connected. So you have two assignments that are connected here. You've got this critical analysis one, the tool building activity. This is going to be due by the time we meet for class next Friday. What you are doing is the information from here is going to help you complete a critical analysis essay. Okay? So what you are supposed to do for this tool assignment, okay, you are going to choose either like a debate, a newspaper editorial, a website, a newspaper ad, whatever. It's your choice. You get to choose, okay? So I gave you the 3 examples in our group activity there. So you guys need to choose either a debate video, an editorial type newspaper article, a website, or even like a news image, okay? And you are going to critically analyze it. So what I would say is find whatever source it is that you want to analyze, kind of glance over that source and decide what it is you would like to analyze in that source, okay? We want you to try to look for any number of these things right here. As I said, I would make a table, okay? Try to use as many of the criteria as possible. You know, don't just do 1 or 2. Give me more than that. However, if you just want to like write it out as a bulleted list or, you know, however, an outline, however you want to do it, it's fine. But this is what you need to work on this week. So you need to find some type of a source, a debate, an editorial newspaper article, a website, or even a news ad, and you're going to critically analyze it. So do a table, do a bulleted list, do an outline, whatever you want to. Has to be submitted by next Friday before class. What you are going to do is you are going to take your analysis, okay? You're going to take your analysis and you're going to end up writing a 2 to 4 page critical essay exploring your interpretation, exploring your analysis, okay? So make sure you find something that has a lot of, I don't want to say material, but, you know, gives you that opportunity to really dig deep and look at what's being said or what's being shown. Make sure that you are finding a source, even a picture, that will allow you to write 2 to 4 pages, okay? Double spaced, all of that. The critical analysis one isn't due until April 9th, but I do like to mention it so you know how they're going to click in together, okay? So this analysis essay won't be due until the 9th of April, but know that it's coming up, okay? But this is the assignment that's due on Friday. Do you guys have any questions on this critical analysis tool building activity? Take to the chat box. You can even private message me if you want to, but take to the chat box and let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So the tool building activity, that one's due before class. The actual essay that you guys will be writing, the critical essay, won't be due until April 9th at midnight. So you have a little bit of time. I'm just kind of putting that out there so you can think ahead of time. Okay, so someone asked a really good question. Does it have to be related to our essay topic for the semester? No, it does not. Okay. Right now, what we're doing is focusing on your ability to critically analyze. If you would like to find something that is related to your essay topic, please feel free to do so. Like if you feel like you have a source that fits in with either the debate, the editorial article from a newspaper, a website, or a news image, okay? So if you have one of those four that you're thinking you're going to use as a source for your paper, go ahead. That's fine. It could help you later on as you go to apply it to your paper, but it does not have to be connected to your essay topic. It just needs to fit one of those four categories: a debate, editorial newspaper article, website, or a news image. Okay. Let me see. I think I was going to tell you something. Well, I can't think. Okay. So I was trying to think if I wanted to tell you anything more about the critical analysis essay, but I don't. Okay, so the tool building, due before we meet next week. We're going to be doing some peer review with it actually in class that will help you, hopefully, in the writing of the critical analysis essay. So make sure you have this tool building activity done, okay? Now, I'm going to add more to that and just kind of give you a heads up. Let's kind of shift a little bit, sort of a shift, but not. So the critical analysis one, the tool building and the essay, don't have to be connected to your essay topic, okay? But your annotated bibliographies need to be the potential sources for your paper, okay? So here is what I want to do. If you guys don't have any questions about the critical analysis, either the tool activity or the essay, I'm going to take us back into Learning Plan 5. I'd like to go through some stuff and actually give you a little bit of time to work. So let's go through here. I think it's in this folder. Okay. So you guys have until midnight tonight to finish your first 2 annotated bibliographies. Some of you have already turned them in, which is great. That's great. But now what you need to know is you need to start working on your 3rd and 4th entries for your annotated bibliography. The entries 3 and 4 are due on the 9th of April at 11:59 p.m. So you'll be working on your critical analysis essay and entries 3 and 4. Those are all due April 9th at 11:59 p.m. Okay. I want to just kind of take note. Your second critical analysis assignment will also be an essay, but it will need to be one of the articles that you have used for entries 3 and 4. Okay? So when you write your critical analysis 2, you're going to have to choose between your entries 3 and 4 to actually write a critical analysis essay. Now, you might be swearing at me from the other side of your computers. I will tell you this. It may seem frustrating that you're doing all of this writing knowing that you have to do a persuasive essay. What you need to understand is that this is like prep work for your essay. You will be able to take a lot of your thought processes and obviously the sources and put them into your paper. So you're actually saving some time. You're actually, even though it may not seem like it, you are working on your persuasive essay by doing these assignments. Okay, so I don't want you to think that they're not any good, that I'm wasting your time. What I did want to go over is the specifics of the annotated bibliography assignments. Okay, because you're going to be doing quite a few annotated bibliographies. So let me read through this, okay? So your annotated bibliography is the core research tool for your persuasive research essay. All right. The reason it is because you're kind of creating a bibliography list of sources that you want to use for your paper. You're already creating the citation entries that will end up going on your works cited page. You're summarizing the content, okay, which is great because then you'll be integrating that into your writing, and you're already critically analyzing the sources that you will then be able to add into your paper. Okay, excuse me. What I need you to know, so 1 and 2 are due tonight. 3 and 4 are due on April 9th. I highlighted a line that I want you guys to pay attention to, okay? You must critically annotate a minimum of 10 sources relevant to your persuasive research essay topic to be within consideration of an A for this assignment. Excuse me. Let me start my sentence. To be within consideration of an A grade for this assignment, a minimum of 12 sources must be annotated. So you need a minimum of 10 to get a passing grade for all of the annotated bibliographies, but you need a minimum of 12 to get an A. Does that make sense? You can get by with 10, but you're going to have to end up doing 12 to get that A. Okay. Do you guys have any questions on that part of it before I explain too much more? Okay. We're still thinking annotated bibliographies here. I'm going to pull up our course calendar that's on our syllabus. Okay. Just to let you know how that is laying out here. So your first 2 annotated bibliographies are due tonight by 11:59 p.m. Your second 2, so annotated bibliographies 3 and 4, are due the 9th by 11:59 p.m. So that's 4 annotations right there. And we know we need 10 to get a passing grade and 12 to get an A, right? So looking ahead, know that all of the rest of your annotated bibliography entries are due the 23rd of April at midnight. Okay, so if you want to work ahead, feel free to work ahead. You will notice that next week you're going to have some work time. Okay, on the 9th, you're going to have some work time. On the 16th, you're going to have some work time. I've tried to build that in so that way, if you have any questions as you're working, we're here and you can ask. Okay, so keep that in mind. The writing's really going to hit you now. We're really going to try to eke it out because if you look at that, we're already in week 10. Today's class signifies week 10. We don't have very many classes left. Look at that. I don't mean to do that to freak you out. I'm just trying to give you that clear picture, okay? Okay, I'm coming back to the annotated bibliography. So just a reminder, your annotated bibliography, if I have it in an MLA format, I've got the whole name section, right? My name, teacher's name, class name, date, all that good stuff. You have to start it out with your citation. Then you have a first paragraph, which is a summary, has to be written in third person. No opinions in the summary paragraph. No opinions. Okay? No. The second paragraph, that's your critical analysis. Feel free to reflect back on those 7 points from the critical analysis video if you're having a problem developing that paragraph. Okay? Make sure that you're indenting these paragraphs. When you get to the second paragraph, this is where you can write in first person if you want to, and you can say, you know, I feel like the author struggled to give solid evidence and relied strictly on, you know, emotion, whatever. Of course, all double spaced. Make sure that your annotated bibliography entries are in alphabetical order. And again, all of this should be a refresher because if you took English Comp 1, you had to do annotated bibliographies for that class as well. So, deep breath. Does anybody have any questions regarding annotated bibliographies? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. All right. All right. I'm looking at my notes because I'm making sure I cover everything that I want you guys to know. Okay, so let me show you this. Whoops. Nope, I don't want to show you a rubric. All right, this is what I am going to be putting up on the announcements page as our homework for this week, okay? I want you to revise your thesis statement, okay? Strengthen it, do whatever you need to, take the feedback from your group mates from this morning. Revise it, bring it to next week's class because we'll be working on it one more time. Critical analysis tool, just the tool activity is due next Friday, 8:30 a.m. We need that for a peer review activity, okay? Try to skim through chapter 11 in your textbook in your Essentials of Argument, all right? And then looking ahead, Critical Analysis 1, the essay, it will be due February 9th at midnight. And your 2 annotations, and I'm going to put specifically so it doesn't get too confusing. So your 2 annotations there, I'm just going to go like this. I'm trying to make it clear, concise. So entries 3 and 4 for your annotated bibliography are due by midnight on April 9th as well. Okay. I know that's a lot of work. It's a good chunk of writing. It's a good chunk of research. Keeping in mind that for the critical analysis tool, you're finding your own source. It does not, for this first one, it does not have to relate back to your research topic, but it does have to be either a debate, a newspaper article, editorial type article. It has to be a website or like a news image. So that's like the main thing that you need to focus on for the critical analysis tool assignment. Feel free to make it like a box, bulleted list, outline it however you want to do. It's not a paper, okay? But make sure you are critically analyzing whatever source it is that you have chosen, okay? Now, do you guys have any questions on what I have here on the screen? You know where to find it all. You know what you're doing for each one. Okay. What I would like to do is I would actually like to give you the last 30 minutes of class here to work on whatever it is. If you need to finish the first 2 annotated entries, annotated bibliography entries, go ahead and work on those. If you'd like to go ahead and start for the homework that you need for next week, work on that. I know you guys had brought up wanting to go over citing images. I have my note. We will do that next time in class, I'll show you how to do that for MLA and APA. Okay. So know that's coming. I didn't forget you. I say a lot, don't I? So what I'm going to say is go ahead, take this last 30 minutes to work. I will remain in class for you guys if you have any questions whatsoever. However, I am allowing you to go ahead and sign out of our session and work, and just know that I'm here if you need me and if you have any questions, okay? Beyond that, I will tell you to have a good weekend and to work hard, and I'll see you next Friday, okay? All right. Have at it, guys.